We are anonymous. We do not forget. We do not forgive. And we do not stay silent when the most powerful man in America hides the truth about his own mind from 340 million citizens. In the next few minutes, you will understand why the Trump family has gone to extraordinary lengths to bury what we are about to reveal. We have intercepted documents that Ivanka Trump attempted to suppress. We have obtained medical assessments that were never meant to see the light of day. We have cross-referenced testimonies from family members, neurological experts, and insiders who can no longer stay silent. And tonight, we expose everything. The document in question is a private medical evaluation conducted in late 2024, following what insiders describe as increasingly erratic behavior during the campaign's final weeks. According to our sources, this evaluation was never meant to be disclosed. It was conducted under the strictest confidentiality, with only a handful of family members aware of its existence. The findings were devastating. The assessment reportedly indicates early-stage cognitive decline, consistent with frontotemporal changes and patterns commonly associated with familial Alzheimer's disease, the same disease that consumed Fred Trump Sr., Donald's father, for nearly a decade before his death in 1999. This is not speculation. This is not political theater. This is the truth that the most powerful family in American politics has desperately tried to conceal from the public, from voters, and from history itself. Let us be absolutely clear about why this matters. Donald Trump is currently serving as the 47th President of the United States. He has access to nuclear codes. He commands the most powerful military on Earth. He makes decisions that affect the lives of billions of people across the globe. And according to the documents we have obtained, there are serious, documented concerns about his cognitive fitness that have been systematically hidden from the American people. The pattern is unmistakable. The evidence is overwhelming, and the cover-up has been deliberate, calculated, and ongoing. But before we reveal the full contents of what we have discovered, you need to understand the history. You need to understand the genetics. You need to understand why Fred Trump's diagnosis in 1991 casts a shadow over everything his son does today. Because the truth is, Donald Trump has known about this risk his entire adult life. He watched his father deteriorate. He witnessed the confusion, the memory loss, the personality changes. He saw what Alzheimer's does to a man, to a family, to a legacy. And yet, when faced with the same symptoms in himself, he chose to hide. He chose to deny. He chose to attack anyone who dared to question his mental fitness while projecting those very concerns onto his political opponents. The hypocrisy is staggering. The danger is real. And, tonight, Anonymous exposes it all. Let us start at the beginning. Not with Donald, but with his father. Fred Trump Sr. was born in 1905 in the Bronx, New York. He built a real estate empire that would eventually be valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars. He was known for his sharp mind, his ruthless business tactics, and his iron control over his family. But by the late 1980s, something had changed. Those close to Fred began noticing subtle shifts. Repetitive questions, forgotten conversations, confusion about dates, names, and even the location of properties he had owned for decades. In 1991, at the age of 86, Fred Trump was formally diagnosed with what his physician described as senile dementia of the Alzheimer's type. The medical records, later revealed through legal proceedings involving the Trump estate, documented obvious decline in memory in recent years, along with symptoms including confusion, disorientation, and an inability to recognize close family members. Donald Trump's response to his father's diagnosis is itself revealing. In a 1990 interview, just 1 year before the formal diagnosis, Donald described his father as sharp as a tack. He insisted there was nothing wrong. He minimized, he denied, he deflected. Sound familiar? According to Mary Trump, Donald's niece and a trained clinical psychologist, her uncle exhibited a pattern of willful blindness when it came to his father's condition. In her 2020 book, Too Much and Never Enough, She revealed that Donald would privately mock his father's deteriorating state while publicly pretending everything was fine. He was embarrassed by the weakness. He saw cognitive decline not as a medical condition deserving of compassion, but as a personal failure, a stain on the family name. Fred Trump Sr. spent the final 8 years of his life in a slow, painful decline. He died in 1999 from pneumonia, with Alzheimer's disease listed as a contributing factor. He was 93 years old, but the genetic legacy he left behind did not die with him. According to the National Institute on Aging, if a parent has late-onset Alzheimer's disease, the risk for their children increases by a factor of 2 to 3. Some studies suggest the hereditary component in familial Alzheimer's cases can be as high as 70 to 80%. The APOE4 gene, which significantly increases Alzheimer's risk, is inherited. If Fred Trump carried this gene, as his symptoms strongly suggest, then Donald Trump has a substantial probability of carrying it as well. Fred Trump III, Donald's nephew, spoke publicly about this in November 2024. In an interview with People magazine, he stated plainly that he sees his grandfather's decline in parallel with Donald's current behavior. The irritability, the outbursts, the confusion. Fred III was not making a political statement. He was making a familial observation based on years of watching the same patterns repeat across generations. Mary Trump has been even more explicit. In November 2025, she stated publicly that Donald exhibits the same symptoms of Alzheimer's that her grandfather exhibited for 8 years before his death. She did not use hedging language. She did not say might or possibly. She said the same symptoms. She has watched 2 generations of Trump men succumb to this disease. She recognizes the signs. And she is sounding the alarm. Now let us examine the pattern of incidents that have accumulated over the past 2 years. Because while genetics establishes risk, behavior provides evidence. And the evidence has been mounting in plain sight, documented in videos, reported by journalists, and visible to anyone paying attention. On January 19, 2024, during a rally in Concord, New Hampshire, Donald Trump made a mistake that he would repeat at least 4 times over the following days. He confused Nikki Haley, his Republican primary rival and former United Nations ambassador, with Nancy Pelosi, the former Democratic Speaker of the House. These are not similar names. These are not similar people. These are political figures from opposite parties with completely different roles in American government. Trump stated, and we quote, "Nikki Haley was in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 soldiers, and she turned it down." He was referring to the January 6th Capitol attack, falsely claiming that Haley had rejected National Guard troops. But Nikki Haley was not in Congress. She was not in charge of security. She was not even in Washington on January 6, 2021. He was confusing her with Pelosi, and he made this same error repeatedly across multiple rallies. Haley's response was measured but pointed. Speaking in Keene, New Hampshire the following day, she said, "I was not in D.C. on January 6th. Can we question whether Donald Trump is mentally fit for the presidency?" Trump's defense was revealing. Rather than acknowledging the error, he deflected by bragging about his 2018 cognitive test, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, on which he scored 30 out of 30. But here is what Trump did not tell the public. The MoCA is a basic screening tool designed to detect obvious cognitive impairment. It is not a comprehensive neurological evaluation. Passing the MoCA does not rule out early-stage dementia. It simply means the individual can identify animals in pictures and draw a clock face correctly. Neurologists interviewed by multiple outlets have confirmed that the MoCA would not catch the kind of subtle, progressive decline that characterizes early Alzheimer's. The Haley-Pelosi confusion was not an isolated incident. It was part of a pattern that has only accelerated since. In July 2024, Trump confused Volodymyr Zelensky with Vladimir Putin during a press event. Think about that for a moment. He confused the democratically elected president of Ukraine, who is fighting for his nation's survival, with the autocratic Russian leader who invaded Ukraine. These are not interchangeable figures. These are adversaries in an ongoing war. And the man with access to America's nuclear arsenal cannot keep them straight. In the same month, Trump referred to Kamala Harris using his own name, creating a moment of confusion that his staff quickly attempted to explain away as a joke. But the pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. August 9, 2024. A rally in Bozeman, Montana. Mid-sentence, Trump stopped speaking. The pause lasted between 21 and 35 seconds, depending on which video timestamp you use. His campaign later claimed he was responding to a medical emergency in the audience, calling for a doctor. But video analysis shows no clear emergency response pattern. Trump simply stopped, stared, and then resumed as if nothing had happened. The incident went viral. Comparisons to Mitch McConnell's freezing episodes in 2023 were immediate and widespread. McConnell had experienced two highly publicized moments where he simply stopped speaking mid-sentence and stood frozen for approximately 30 seconds each time. Medical experts attributed these to after-effects of a previous stroke. But McConnell is not the president. McConnell does not have the nuclear codes. May 18, 2024. The National Rifle Association meeting in Dallas, Texas. Another pause, this one lasting approximately 35 seconds. When questioned about it afterward, Trump insisted it was deliberate, a rhetorical pause for effect. But watching the video, there is no rhetorical purpose evident. No build-up, no payoff. Just silence and a vacant expression. October 18, 2024. A rally in Detroit, Michigan. The microphone failed. What happened next was captured on video and shared millions of times. Trump walked silently around the stage for approximately 20 minutes. No engagement with the crowd, no improvisation, no apparent awareness of how to handle the situation, just walking, waiting, seemingly lost. His defenders called it a technical issue beyond his control. His critics saw something far more concerning. A man who, when his script was taken away, had no idea what to do. The incidents have continued into 2025, and they have only become more frequent and more disturbing. In October 2025, during a press conference, multiple witnesses described what they called a vacant stare lasting several seconds when Trump was asked a straightforward question. Videos circulating on X, formerly Twitter, show a moment where his eyes seem to lose focus, his expression goes blank, and there is a delay before he responds that cannot be explained by normal thinking time. At the Kennedy Center honors in December 2025, Trump appeared to argue with the teleprompter. He repeated phrases. He lost his place. He seemed disoriented by the format of the event. Observers noted that he looked uncertain about where he was supposed to stand and when he was supposed to speak. These are not the behaviors of a sharp mind. These are not the signs of a man operating at full cognitive capacity. These are the warning signals that neurologists have been trained to recognize, the same signals that Fred Trump exhibited in the years before his formal Alzheimer's diagnosis. Let us be clear about what we are saying. We are not physicians. We cannot diagnose, but we can observe patterns. We can compare behaviors across time. We can listen to family members who have seen this before. And we can demand transparency from a man who holds the most powerful office on earth. Fred Trump III watched his grandfather decline. He watched the irritability increase. He watched the confusion grow. He watched the outbursts become more frequent and less controlled. And now he is watching the same pattern in his uncle. When a family member with direct personal experience of generational Alzheimer's says he sees the parallels, that is not a political attack. That is a warning. Mary Trump is a clinical psychologist. She understands cognitive decline professionally and personally. When she says Donald exhibits the same symptoms her grandfather exhibited for 8 years before his death, she is speaking from expertise and from lived experience. She has no reason to lie. She has every reason to be believed. Now let us talk about the cover-up. Because the most damaging part of this entire situation is not the cognitive decline itself. Decline happens. Age takes its toll. Diseases strike without regard to wealth or power. The truly damaging part is the systematic, deliberate effort to hide the truth from the American public. According to our sources, the medical evaluation conducted in late 2024 was kept within an extremely tight circle. Ivanka Trump, Donald's daughter and longtime advisor, was allegedly instrumental in ensuring the results never became public. The evaluation was conducted by a private physician with no obligation to disclose results to the public or to any government oversight body. The findings were discussed only among immediate family and a handful of trusted advisors. This is not transparency. This is not accountability. This is a family deciding that their grip on power matters more than the public's right to know whether their president is cognitively fit to serve. Consider the hypocrisy. Throughout the 2024 campaign, Trump relentlessly attacked Joe Biden's mental fitness. He called Biden senile. He mocked his gait, his speech patterns, his moments of confusion. Trump built an entire campaign narrative around the idea that his opponent was too old and too diminished to serve as president. The Washington Post documented this pattern in a March 2024 article titled "Trump's Experience with Father's Dementia Colors His Political Attacks." The piece revealed how Trump witnessed his father's decline up close, but has never publicly acknowledged how that experience might apply to himself. He uses dementia as a political weapon against others while ignoring his own family history and his own warning signs. This is not just political strategy. This is projection on a clinical level. Trump accuses others of exactly what he fears in himself. He attacks Biden's cognitive state precisely because he knows his own cognition is compromised. He screams about mental fitness because he is terrified of confronting his own mental decline, and the family enables it. They protect the secret. They manage the public appearances. They ensure the worst moments are explained away as jokes, as deliberate pauses, as reactions to technical failures. The infrastructure of denial is elaborate and effective, but it cannot hold forever. The truth has a way of emerging. The documents have a way of surfacing, and Anonymous has a way of ensuring that what is hidden becomes known. Let us compare what we know about Fred Trump's symptoms with what we have observed in Donald. This comparison is not speculative. It is based on documented medical records from the elder Trump's case and on public observations of the younger Trump's behavior. Fred Trump's symptoms in the early 1990s included decline in memory, confusion about locations and people, repetitive questions, irritability, and loss of orientation. His physician documented these in evaluations that were later revealed through legal proceedings. Donald Trump's observed behaviors in 2024 and 2025 include confusion about names, mixing up Haley with Pelosi, Zelensky with Putin. They include prolonged pauses mid-speech that his staff struggles to explain. They include vacant stares during public events that cannot be attributed to normal fatigue. They include increased irritability and outbursts that even his allies have privately expressed concern about. Fred Trump was diagnosed at 86 years old, but the decline began years earlier. Donald Trump is currently 79 years old. The timeline aligns disturbingly well with hereditary late-onset Alzheimer's patterns. Fred Trump's family initially denied his condition. Donald was quoted calling his father sharp as a tack in 1990, just 1 year before the formal diagnosis. The pattern of denial is generational. Fred Trump spent his final years in a state of progressive confusion, unable to recognize family members, unable to recall his own achievements, unable to function independently. Mary Trump has stated publicly that Donald is already exhibiting the early versions of these same symptoms. The genetic link is not speculation. The APOE4 gene, which significantly increases Alzheimer's risk, is inherited. Fred Trump's symptoms strongly suggest he carried this gene. If so, there is a substantial probability that Donald inherited it as well. No genetic testing results have ever been released by the Trump family. They have every reason to hide this information. And based on what we have observed, they have been hiding it successfully until now. What does this mean for America? What does this mean for the world? Let us be explicit about the stakes. The President of the United States commands the most powerful military force in human history. He has sole authority to authorize nuclear strikes. He makes decisions that affect global markets, international alliances, and the lives of billions of people. He receives classified intelligence briefings containing the most sensitive secrets of national security. If that president is experiencing cognitive decline, the implications are catastrophic. Decisions made in moments of confusion could trigger international incidents. Misremembered briefings could lead to policy disasters. Inability to distinguish between allies and adversaries, between Zelensky and Putin, could have consequences that reverberate for generations. This is not hypothetical. We have already seen the confusion play out in public. We have already seen the pauses, the blank stares, the lost threads of thought. If this is what happens when cameras are rolling, what happens behind closed doors? What happens in the situation room? What happens when a decision must be made in minutes and there is no time for staff to manage the moment? The 25th Amendment to the Constitution provides a mechanism for addressing a president who is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. But invoking this amendment requires political will, and political will requires public pressure, and public pressure requires information. The American people have a right to know the cognitive status of their president. They have a right to demand transparency. They have a right to see the medical evaluations that have been hidden from them. This is not about politics. This is not about party. This is about the most basic question of governance. Is the person making the decisions capable of making them? Based on everything we have revealed tonight, there is profound reason for doubt. And that brings us to the documents we have obtained. The medical evaluation from late 2024. The assessment that the Trump family has gone to such lengths to suppress. According to our sources, this evaluation was conducted following a series of concerning incidents during the final weeks of the campaign. Close advisors had observed increasing confusion, more frequent memory lapses, and behavioral patterns that could not be explained by fatigue or stress. The decision was made to conduct a private assessment, away from public scrutiny, with results that would never be disclosed. The evaluation reportedly identified early-stage cognitive decline consistent with neurodegenerative patterns. The specific terminology used in the assessment aligns with early presentations of frontotemporal or Alzheimer's type dementia. The recommendation was for ongoing monitoring and for measures to reduce cognitive load during public appearances. This is why the teleprompter malfunctions seem to throw Trump so completely. This is why his speeches have become more repetitive, returning to the same phrases and stories rather than generating new material. This is why the rallies have become shorter and more controlled. The infrastructure of management has been put in place to hide what is happening. But documents do not lie. Patterns do not lie. Family history does not lie. And Anonymous does not stay silent. We have cross-referenced this information with testimonies from family members, with medical expert analysis, with the visible public record of incidents. Everything aligns. Everything points to the same conclusion. The 47th President of the United States is experiencing cognitive decline, and his family and inner circle have been engaged in a systematic cover-up to prevent the American public from knowing. This is the truth they tried to bury. This is the revelation that was never supposed to reach you. But it has reached you now, and what you do with this information matters. We call upon journalists to investigate further. The medical records exist. The evaluations were conducted. The paper trail can be followed by those with the resources and the courage to pursue it. We call upon members of Congress to demand transparency. The mechanisms exist for oversight. The questions can be asked. The testimony can be compelled. If there is nothing to hide, then disclosure should be welcomed. We call upon the American people to pay attention. Watch the speeches, notice the pauses, observe the confusion. Compare what you see today to what you saw 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The decline is visible to anyone willing to look. We call upon medical professionals to speak out. You have the expertise to recognize what is happening. You have the ethical obligation to inform the public about matters of such profound importance. Silence in the face of this evidence is complicity. The Epstein documents taught us that the powerful will hide anything to protect themselves. The Trump family has demonstrated for generations that denial is their first response to inconvenient truth. Fred Trump was sharp as a tack until he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Donald Trump insists he is a genius until the videos show otherwise. But the truth always emerges. The documents always surface. The patterns always become undeniable. We have done our part. We have revealed what was hidden. We have exposed what was suppressed. Now it is your turn to act. Share this message. Spread the truth. Let no algorithm bury what the powerful want forgotten. The health of the Republic depends on an informed citizenry, and tonight you have been informed. We are anonymous. We do not forget. We do not forgive. And when those in power lie to protect themselves at the expense of the public good, we expose the truth. The genetic shadow of Fred Trump's Alzheimer's hangs over his son. The incidents have accumulated beyond coincidence. The family has hidden what they know, and now the world knows too. Expect us, because we never stop, we never surrender, and we never allow the truth to remain buried. The question now is not whether Donald Trump is experiencing cognitive decline. The evidence makes that clear. The question is what America will do about it. Will the nation demand transparency? Will Congress fulfill its oversight responsibilities? Will the 25th Amendment be invoked if the situation deteriorates further? These are the questions that must be answered. These are the conversations that must be had. And they begin with you, sharing this message, spreading this truth, refusing to let the powerful hide behind their walls of denial and deflection. We are anonymous. We reveal what others hide. We expose what others suppress. And tonight, we have exposed the truth about the cognitive state of the most powerful man in the world. The rest is up to you.